Hey, feel I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's
Well, we're back to work. Got back from the wedding. We got our vacuum bleeder kits there. It's time to hopefully get this clutch working. So we're gonna see. So we're basically gonna reverse bleed the clutch master, which means we're gonna go from the fluid reservoir and pull vacuum on it, and it's gonna bring the air to the top instead of normally you bleed it from down by the clutch in like the transmission area, and that's just a regular bleed. Let me clean up this brake fluid. That's not good to sit on paint. That kind of tears it up. So, all right, I'm gonna put the camera down for a little bit. We're gonna get everything set up, and then I'll probably film all the bubbles coming out, hopefully. All right, so there's tons of aerated fluid in there, like all this, that's air. So it's pulling the air through, and then we're gonna start filling up this container, but the air should be rolling out as well. Yeah, look at the air bubbles.
Oh yeah, bigger bubble. So do we need to refill the brake fluid in the reservoir continuously, or
no? Because this is pretty much plugging the line. We'll have to put some in right before we pull it out.
Okay. Yeah, bigger.
All right, let me get this. If you want to step on the pedal, just kind of hold it. Just slowly engage it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's our problem. It's just air in the...
You're good.
All right. That air bubble, giant. Yeah, that's all air that was in the line. Wow. All right, you can let off now, slowly.
That should be it.
All right, and then we just let it hold vacuum for a little while, and the air is just going to keep pouring out like it is right now. Man.
I don't know.
All right, we're going to do this for a little bit longer until air stops coming out. All right, we let it run for the longest time, and as you can see, there's no more air coming out, no more bubbles. So now we just need to let the pressure off, not overflow the reservoir, and pull it out while there's still fluid. Well, as you can see, it didn't move. Maybe like a half a foot, but still can't get it to engage, so we're gonna have to drop the trans now, which I was not looking forward to, but it's got to be done. We're making the video that I hoped we wouldn't have to make. Car's got to go back up in the air. We gotta drop the transmission. There's no way around it. The slave cylinder is bled. It's doing its job. I think one of the clutch plates, it was kind of difficult to slide the input shaft through both clutch discs. Since it's a twin disc, there's two of them to go through. So I think one of them may have got pinched a little bit or went in wrong, or it might be warped, and it's just not sliding on the input shaft when it needs to. So I believe we're gonna have to take it apart and kind of assess the damage from there, see what we need, and yeah, it's not gonna be fun, but you know, Gotta do what you gotta do. Alright, car's up on jack stands, it's sitting on the wheels. It's pretty secure, it's pretty up there. That's how we took the transmission down last time. I did see a drip under the transmission. I think it's transmission fluid out of the tail shaft, but I have to get under there and double check. But either way, transmission, it's like 99.9% sure it's got to come down. So let's just go ahead and do that and get it over with. Take a look and see what was defective or what was installed wrong, whatever it may be. We'll probably pick up a little bit later. All right, exhaust is down, drive shaft's down, transmission bolts are out. We just need to maneuver it around. I'm not trying to lift it from the ground, so we're trying to do it with 2 jacks and a pry bar to kind of like separate it. So we'll see how it goes. I don't remember what the last update is, but as you can see, transmission's out, slave cylinder's unbolted. The spring for the slave cylinder is sitting over there. There's a ruler, some digital calipers. It's been an afternoon. The irony of the whole situation is I started working on cars because I was not good at math and did not do well in school, and here we are all day doing math. So for those that don't know or have never really gone the route of a performance clutch, so you need to measure the distance between, this is the throwout bearing right here, so this spins on the pressure plate. So you need to measure the gap between this and the actual pressure plate for the clutch. So you have to bottom this out, which means taking that spring out, because normally the spring kind of sits it gently against the pressure plate but not applying any pressure, just kind of floating. So you need to bottom this all the way out so there's no gap here. Then you measure from here to the actual casing of the transmission, and then on the clutch side you do from the outside of the bell housing to the fingers of the pressure plate, and then you minus 1 figure from the other and you get what's called an air gap. So I was kind of I didn't think it was going to be the air gap. The manufacturer of the clutch just wanted to double check because these are basically stock clutches for a C7 Z06 possibly. I don't know which model they come from, but it's a twin disc clutch. It is an OEM clutch, but they make a flywheel for different vehicles. So typically OEM clutches don't require shims. So if the air gap was too much, there's a metal shim that would sit here basically spacing this out just a bit. So it would be like 1/10 of an inch, probably a little bit less, maybe even like I don't know. Yeah, a little bit less than that. But you put it under there, and then that takes up that air gap. So they were concerned, since our clutch would only halfway engage, basically, they were concerned that there was too much air gap and the clutch was only halfway engaging. But as we all realize now that we did the math, is the air gap is perfectly fine. It's a little on the higher end, so there's a little bit more gap than their ideal measurements, but it has plenty of gap, plenty of throw distance to actually engage the clutch. So Monster Clutch is kind of trying to figure out what's going on, and they're telling us, you know, things to check. So I think we're gonna leave it off today. I don't have the strength to throw it back up there today, and we might have to pull the clutch down and send it back to them so they can inspect it. I'm really not sure. So we're gonna kind of play it by ear, wait for them to respond back, and then we'll go from there. All right, we're back at it. Day 2 of figuring out what exactly is wrong with the clutch, since the clutch isn't wrong with the clutch. So I've been in contact with Monster Clutches, who makes the clutch kit for this. And now the final thing is they're thinking it's either the slave cylinder throw or a disc got kind of pinched when we were installing it, which isn't out of the realm of possibilities. I mean, it was a little hard to slide the input shaft through both discs, but I've never really messed with too many twin disc clutch, so it didn't seem like abnormal to me at the time. But now looking back, as easy as it slid out, I mean, it could have been just a pinched disc. But they want us to take the spring out of the slave cylinder, fully compress it, and then have somebody press the clutch pedal and take measurements from it fully compressed to fully extended and see what the throw is. So we're going to go ahead and do that and send that to them so we can just kind of roll out all of the other things, and then it's really just going to come down to us putting it back in the car and just trying it again, most likely, because I don't think anything's wrong with the clutch. They kind of looked it over from all the pictures, and I really don't think the slave cylinder is bad, because I mean, it was working. So I don't know, we'll see. We're gonna take it apart, take some measurements, and then we'll pick up a little bit later. All right, got the slave reassembled, got the spring behind it. That's kind of a helper spring, keeps tension on it. I sent the measurements over to to Monster, and we're waiting to see what they say back. So it was like 2 inches from the bearing face to the transmission housing at fully compressed, and it was 2.725. So 0.722, I believe, was the travel. Let's see what we got. Yeah, 0.722 inches is the travel. So that should be more than enough. Like I said, it's either going to be air, which we have bled, so I really don't think it's air, or we possibly pinched one of the discs, because there are 2 discs and there's a floater plate. Oh, let's see. Monster just responded back. They said, "Ooh, did you make sure you were applying pressure to the slave when they depressed the pedal, and you held that pressure while measuring?" Ooh, no. I sure did not. All right, well, we might have to do it all over again. Well, slave cylinder is put together for like round 3 or 4. I've probably taken it apart altogether probably like 10 or 20 times, but we sent the measurements off. Monster came back and said doesn't look like he had the slave cylinder compressed, so we redid the test, and we got about a little under a ½ inch of travel, which should be more than enough to move the clutch. There's an air gap of 0.200 range is what they want. So obviously you have to manipulate the clutch as well, so that would be another 0.2. So we have enough travel. I mean, it should be perfectly fine. Just waiting for them to like email us back and tell us, but pretty sure that it's probably just installation error. The first time we probably pinched one of the discs and they weren't sliding on the input shaft, but unfortunately we're not going to resolve this time around, so we're just going to leave it down. We just have stuff to do. We got to get ready. We did book a load for Thursday. We have to pick the load up Thursday, and then it runs through and delivers Monday. So yeah, I think we're gonna spend the rest of the day smoking some ribs and making some burnt ends. So we're gonna definitely film that, and I'm gonna start filming the next video, which is gonna be a wiring video, kind of how to integrate a stock wiring harness to a Holley standalone harness. I know there's a lot of people out there that are just completely overwhelmed with wiring. So I'm going to try to make it easy and give the DIY guy a fighting chance to do it themselves. It's time to do some barbecuing, some smoking. So what we're doing today is called poor man's burnt ends. So normally burnt ends are the points of a beef brisket, but beef brisket is very expensive and it takes a long time and we don't quite have a whole day to devote to it. So what this is chuck roast. It is a standard roast that you can get at any grocery store. And this is $5.49 a pound. This is about a two pound chuck roast. And what we're gonna do, so it doesn't look like there's a ton of extra fat. Just kind of maybe cut a little sliver, kind of like what you would do to a beef brisket. You know, nothing crazy. You don't have to go super wild. But we're gonna cut these up into 1-inch cubes, somewhere around there. They are gonna render down a lot smaller when they're done. But basically, we're gonna smoke it for about 2 hours. We're gonna cut it into cubes so that it gets that bark all the way around. Whereas like a typical burnt end, you're only gonna get obviously the skin side out. So it's not going to be identical to burnt ends, but it is a very economical and quick way to make something close. Alright, I got them chopped up. They're definitely not uniform slices or anything like that, but it doesn't matter because it's going to taste the same. Alright, so we're using mustard as a binder. And I know somebody's going to say, I hate mustard. You will not taste it. This is a staple in smoking meat. It allows the seasoning to bind to the meat, and then it also gives the smoke something to bind to. It cooks off, and you will not taste it. If you've had traditional, it's a little big. If you've had traditional brisket on a smoker, then you have had most likely a mustard binder. So we are going to get this seasoned up. We have something, basically you just want something with like brown sugar, paprika, salt, pepper, standard stuff. So we're gonna do 2 different styles. We have 2 chuck roasts. This one we're gonna do Texas, what is it, South Texas, South Central Texas, whatever. Mostly peppercorn. So we're gonna season it with the normal sprinkle seasoning, and then the last step's gonna be the peppercorn, and that's gonna be like the crunch, the texture that we're gonna get. All right, so on the smoker, we got this new piece right here. It has a removable handle, and it allows the meat to kind of smoke on all sides, so you don't have to like go out and flip it or anything, but then you can take it off with that handle. It's really convenient for when you're cooking something small and cubed, like what we're about to cook. So we're just gonna lay them out, not too close. They don't have to be like on top of each other, but really the spacing doesn't matter because they are going to cook down and be a lot smaller. Probably should have done a little bit thicker cuts. I guess towards the end I was doing a little bit thicker, but
yeah, well, you always had the second one.
yeah. What did Bob Ross say? Just happy little mistakes. Mm-hmm. So really the only difference in this, if you cut it a little bit smaller, is you just need less time.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little full, but it all fit. All right. So that's ready. I gotta get the smoker prepared and started. So I'm gonna get that going. All right, meat's on the grill. I need to put the lid back on. And then I gotta put some of the actual smoking wood in there, the flavor wood. Have not yet, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. We need to get the temp down a little bit. It was in the 290 range. It's supposed to be at like 275. All right, flavor for today, we're going with peach flavored wood. So it is local stuff from a farmer's market down the street. We like to go with some of the local stuff, you know, and just higher quality, better prices, and you're helping out somebody else with a small business. There it is. The smoke is starting to pour out. It's gonna be so good. All right, out here checking on it. We were having a little problem keeping the temp in the right range, but man, look at that. Starting to get a nice little bark on the corners. A little tray down there. Ooh. Man, I can't wait. That's gonna be so good. Ooh, that's a little warm. Tap that with my knuckle. Yeah, it looks like the temp's about where we need it to be now. So I just moved the coals around, stocked it up a little bit more. I left the door open to get the heat up pretty quick. So right now it's at 288. We'll see if it settles back down. Ooh, it's time. It's time. They've had about an hour and a half, maybe a little bit longer, just because I couldn't get it up to temp for a little while. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, look at that. Ooh-wee. Look at that.
You look good.
Ooh, that bark. Let me get this, which goes like that. All right.
Remember, it doesn't flip very well, you know.
Yeah, I'm just
since it's removable. Just don't want to see the can flip. Oh yeah, those smell good.
Fuck.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. That right there. I like that it's removable since it's a wooden handle, but
I like it for this, but
yeah, I mean that other one works well on the bottom since you can just stick it through the grate, you know.
yep.
Oh man, those smell good.
Wow.
Yeah. Don't drop it in.
So look at that. These are some like burnt in chunks, definitely. Well, as close as you're gonna get without buying a brisket for the point. All right, throwing some of the, so it's basically beef broth, butter, and barbecue sauce. So we're gonna throw that on there. And we're actually going to cover it, and it's basically going to steam cook, and that's going to tenderize the meat pretty well and make it a nice flavor. All right.
Then we'll get the ribs out at some point.
Yep. So we still have ribs to do too. So this will be in there for another hour. I think we're going to start prepping the ribs.
Would we not care about keeping the...
No, I mean the big chunks we know are different. I think the only difference is cracked pepper, really. You get the temperature alarm. It's going off. I hear it in the background. All right.
I'll put the aluminum foil on the chair over there.
All right, so now we're going to cover it with aluminum foil, put it back on, and let it simmer. All right, Liz got the ribs prepped. So those are ready to go on right after we pull the poor man's burnt ends out, which should be pretty soon. I think we're going to go out and check them now. Let's see how they look. I'm not going to fall for the trap. That is pretty hot. Ooh, look at it boiling.
Ooh, smell good.
Stop. Alright. Let's see how tender they are. Looks like they might need a little bit longer. Not quite pull apart yet. Alright, I think we're gonna finish them off uncovered. So with these, you're not really cooking for temperature, you're just kind of cooking for until they're like falling apart. Maybe we will put it back on. Yeah, I think we'll cover them back up for a little while.
So these are the hives that my dad keeps in the backyard. 3 of them here. Bees are pretty active today. It's a nice sunny warm day. They're out looking for pollen. So he's been a beekeeper for about over 30 years off and on. But when they moved up to Stanton and he had his church up here, he started a ministry with the church. And they have, man, at one point I think they had 8 or 9 beehives over by the church, and they will extract it and they'll sell the honey to raise funds for mission trips and stuff that the church goes on. But I always thought this was really cool, and there's been several times over the last 10 or so years that my dad will be extracting honey and I'll be out there with him taking the frames out of these hives. We have some backyard chickens too. They're really friendly. But it's always just been a cool thing to me, and luckily I'm not allergic to the stings or anything, and I've been stung many times, but never really bothers me. A lot of them, I forget all the details on which ones, but a lot of them, when they sting you, it rips out their butt essentially, and they actually end up dying. So honeybees really aren't aggressive. They won't, you know, they have to be provoked to attack you, so I'm really not scared of them or anything, and I've really grown up really respecting honeybees and beekeepers. So I always thought this was cool that he had the honeybees in the backyard, and a lot of times we'll use some of this honey in with the barbecue. The barbecue sauces, we'll mix it in so we have some nice, very, very local honey.
I just put the tongs to a few of them, and they are definitely pulling apart. Yeah, you can see that one kind of splitting apart on its own right now. It is very tender. It smells really good. A lot of the liquid is boiling down, so it's turning into more of like a molasses now. So I'm going to try to pull them off, and we're going to get them inside, check it out, see how they are. And maybe I'll drain the liquid and put them back on for a little bit, but probably not. I think they're ready to go. I'll try one when it cools down. Right now it is boiling. All right, just got them off the grill. Just yeah, look at how that pulls apart. It is so good, so good. Well, now it's time to try them now that they're on fire. That's really good. So of course it's not going to be like brisket point or anything, but this is pretty close for a lot cheaper. It literally just came off the smoker. Do the dragon breath.
No, it's so good.
So I think if I can get the temp back down into range, I might throw them back on for 5-10 minutes with a decent amount of the peach smoke on there, just to get a tad more smoke flavor on the outside, and see if we can kind of bake this barbecue sauce in. It kind of gets a little harder when it's in the smoker, and it makes for a fantastic finish. So all day I've been fighting with it not keeping temp. It kept dropping temp. So now that I got it going, it's like we want to go all the way. So temp's been hovering around 300, between 320 and 300. I have all the vents shut, so it's slowly backing down. So if I can get it back down to closer to the temp that the ribs are going to cook at, I'll throw it on there, throw a bunch of the flavor wood in there, and just let it kind of sit in there. It's not really going to cook anymore, but it'll give us that nice smoked flavor, and yeah, finish these off perfectly. So I'm going to go out on a limb, unless the person that we're giving them to is like a hardcore barbecue aficionado. They're probably not even going to tell the difference, but they're fantastic. All right, the burns ends are back on the smoker. Gonna probably leave them on there for like 15-20 minutes. Put a healthy amount of the flavoring wood. The ribs are actually in the oven, kind of cooking at 225, which is what they would be on the smoker. So that should hopefully lessen the time that they need to be on the smoker. All right, so we just loaded the Weber kettle. I found the model. It is the kettle smoker. We just loaded it with the rib rack, and there it is. So what, 5, 6? Kind of 6 racks.
Because the rack will hold 5.
God, that wood smells so good.
So good.
All right, so we're gonna run these for about an hour. No, sorry, 2 hours. Then we're gonna wrap it for about an hour, and then we base it, and then we put it on for another hour.
So they were in the oven for an hour.
Yep. Yeah, so we're gonna take that time off of the wrapped section.
Yeah.
Because we need the smoke.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, we'll pick up later. Well, the burnt ends did exactly what I wanted them to do. The barbecue sauce thickened up, kind of turned into like a braised molasses almost, and it has a hint more of the smoke flavor. Since we did kind of cover them in liquid, it kind of dulls all of the seasoning. Remember at the beginning I said it may look heavy, but the liquid kind of takes away the seasoning, and it takes away the smoke flavor as well. So throw it back on the smoker for like 15-20 minutes at a very low temp. So we're cooking ribs that need to be at 225. So I got it down to 225 and just let it sit. So it's not actually like cooking the meat anymore. But right now they are so tender. They have such a good flavor. 10 out of 10. Would do again. Ready for a bark check?
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's turning that nice color. Just spritz them real quick.
Looking good.
God, that wood smells so good. All right, we're gonna hide them back for a little bit, try to get it up to temp. And then, yeah, we'll wrap it eventually and let it sit.
So, put everything up tomorrow after it cools down overnight.
All right, let's check them out. Ooh, man, look at that color. Yeah. All right, so right now we are going to wrap them in aluminum foil for an hour. Then we're going to unwrap them for an hour and baste them with barbecue sauce and let that harden and get a little bit of smoke flavor. Got them all wrapped up like little tinfoil burritos. We're going to set the timer for an hour, and then we're going to baste them with some barbecue sauce. So what are we mixing?
Sweet baby rays and some of Dad's honey.
Some homegrown honey.
Homegrown honey.
From, what did he name his business? Weeks Honey?
I think so. That's probably good.
Yeah.
That's probably good. Shame I don't have one of the bottles with the logo he designed.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be nice. But they put it in the bear pour thing because it's easy to squeeze.
Right.
It's just easier to use.
They have a nice flag for the front of the table too.
Yeah.
Saw that the other day.
He goes to the, was it Verona farmer's market every week. All right, that should be good. Kind of like that taste.
Well, we're unwrapping the ribs in their little burrito blankets. All right, let's try to get the rack back.
Here.
All right. Then probably gonna stack to it. All right, and you want to slather some BBQ sauce on there. It's pretty dark. There's not really a light that's directly out here. So we're gonna do this. Probably finished up, and I'll show you the finished results since you probably can't see much of it here. Well, here's the final product. Some nice bark on there. I know they're gonna be tender because the bones are falling out already. So they should be fantastic. Alright, this adventure is about done. So we got some ribs smoked, some chuck roast, poor man's burnt ends, whatever you want to call them, and basically you got the transmission taken down. Wow, that's bumpy. So we've been back and forth with Monster, who makes the clutch, and they want us to put a shim behind the slave cylinder. Even though it's within range, it was on the higher end of the range. So they want us to put a shim on and then reassemble it without hooking everything up, and just put the drive shaft on, see if you can clutch in first gear and if it'll spin freely. Which that should have been a sign to us, because we did spin it while it was up on the jack stands, and it wasn't as easy as being in neutral. So that should have been a sign, but you know, what are you gonna do? Live and learn, right? So we're gonna order the shim. We did book a load, leaves out today, so we're going to pick that up right now. So we're gonna pick it up and then probably run by a truck stop, finish packing the truck. I'm gonna try to shoot one more video about wiring, so I'll have something to post while we're out on the road. And then yeah, it's just gonna be trucking content. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.